Hey, good morning guys. Tush coming at you. Saturday, November the 5th, and just coming up to, or just past 10 o'clock in the morning. And we're back out in the garage, and we're beginning work back on the 59 TR3A. So, the rust bucket. And I've done a bit more work. You saw me do this side probably, let me throw some light on that. A few weeks ago, you saw me working on this out in the driveway to expose that sort of mess back in here, but actually that looks pretty good compared to the driver's side. We'll take you around to that side. I've just played around on this area, and you can see that the tail light area is pretty rough. And I'll just bring you around to this side, and this sort of end cap is looking pretty rough in there. A lot of rust in there. Flanges are pretty rusty or non-existent, and pretty rusty in there. And I showed you a quick shot of this before, so it's pretty rusted away in that area as well. So we've got a pretty good repair area to do in this back quarter section. And I'd already showed you this floor section back here to the wheel opening. So yeah, quite a bit of repair work to do in this panel back here. So we just sort of getting to the bottom of it, seeing how bad the damage is, and just cleaning up a few little areas. There was a patch brazed in here that I've removed. You can see the brazing there. So we're going to clean that area up a little bit more, and we'll probably make a 2 or 3 part patch to go on there. I've got to replace that flange on the bottom as well as do this area on the top. So we'll figure out the best way to go about that. So I do probably need to invest in a few tools. I think I'm pretty much out of my Dremel cutoff bits, and I think I want to get something a little more precise than a cutoff wheel. So I think we're going to make a trip to the hardware store and pick up some Dremel cutoff wheels first of all. And I see that they have a my local Canadian Tire has a angle grinder 2-pack on for like 60 bucks. So I've always made do with one angle grinder, but I figure that I'm getting tired of swapping out cutting wheels and grinding discs. So I think we'll go up and grab that 2-pack of grinders just to make it a little easier for this restoration. And I've got a couple of restorations to do after this one, so we'll put them to good use for sure. It's not like it's going to be a one-time kind of thing. You can see maybe a little bit better in this angle. You can see all the sort of damage in that corner. So that's going to be, like I said, a fairly hefty repair section. I'm hoping to be able to keep the center of the trunk metal intact with all the ribbing. I'm hoping I can sort of rescue that or save that. I have to be concerned about under this floor of the trunk. There's obviously the spare wheel pan, so I know we've got to be concerned when we're cutting metal out that we don't cut into the spare tire pan mounts that weld up to the bottom of this pan. So hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, we'll come back in a little while, guys. One more thing I want to do this morning, and maybe I can talk Crazy Les into doing, is my door is starting to disintegrate on the bottom. You can sort of see a little hole starting to happen over here. So Les has got a heating and air conditioning shop, and I've been up there a couple times. You've probably seen it in previous videos. So I'm going to try to convince Les to bend me up a nice piece of flashing that I can sort of wrap around the bottom of that door, just to keep it a little bit more safe for a few more years anyway before that door needs to be replaced. So maybe I'll talk Les into that, and maybe we'll take a trip up to his shop. We'll see what we can do. Alright, so the door is off. Now we got a big gaping hole. Anyway, hopefully Les will be able to do this today. I haven't called him yet, so we may be putting the door back on. But it is a heavy door. It's a solid door, which I'm surprised about. I thought it might just be sort of a hollow core door, but it's solid and heavy. So anyway, you can see where it I didn't realize how heavy it was, and when it came off the hinges it kind of hit the ground. But anyway, we'll see what Les can do with it. Alright guys, we're back. Just going to wait for Les to come by and help me with that door. So in the meantime, we're going to try to clean a few parts up. So I think I took a quick video of this before. This is a part that was donated by one of my British Car Forum buddies, John. who chopped this off a parts car for me to help me with the fabrication, or so I wouldn't have to fabricate this part. So this is the rear tail light nacelle, I call it, and you can see it sort of goes on the car something like this. I don't know if you can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this part up. I'm going to blast it up just with my bucket blaster. And then we're going to sort of trim it up. There's a little bit of excess metal on here that we've got to get cleaned up. So I'll blast this up. We'll take off the metal that I don't need, and I'll show you what we're left with. Alright guys, and just a quick note to do that, I'm just going to use my bucket blaster. So this is a sandblasting gun kit from Princess Auto. I think this costs about 25 bucks, 29 bucks, something like that. You can usually get them on sale too. But anyway, so I've just got that, and I've got a bucket of grit over here. And we're just going to step outside and do a little blasting. We're going to blast it into a bucket. I'm probably going to put that colander on top and just blast into the colander onto the part, and hopefully some of the material will end up back in the bucket so we can reuse it. That's the plan anyway. Okay guys, just a quick shot of that part cleaned up. It's not fully cleaned up obviously, but you can see the spot welds a lot more clearly now. So I'm going to drill those spot welds out. I'm going to take this excess metal off. So these spot welds are a little harder to see on this side, so we'll just take my time and sort of split that seam there where that's sort of turned up there, and we'll get that little scab off there, and we'll separate this cone piece from this piece here, which is actually a piece of the rear valance still stuck on there. So we'll do our best, we'll just take our time. We'll come back. Alright guys, quick update for you. We managed to get this piece all apart, and it looks like it's going to be a good salvageable part. We've got it all sandblasted up and cleaned up. It's nice and solid. So definitely usable. So thanks again, John, for sending that. You can see all the scrappy bits that came off of it. And I have to say there's nothing more quite satisfying than hearing the sound of a rivet letting go. Got a nice clean pop to it. So there was quite a few of them on these pieces to drill out, so we managed to do that successfully. So that pod is going to fit in there nicely once we get this back area all finished up, so that'll fit back in there. And funny thing is, I managed to save this piece, which could potentially be usable. It's still pretty solid, so that piece is that piece right there. So, you know, that might actually be able to utilize that piece to make a patch. So we shall see. That's it for now, guys. So I'm just going to do a little exploring in this back area. I'm just going to get the grinder out, and I'm going to see where we're at. I know I've got a close-in panel here running across here, and I know this area here is the spare tire well. So I just want to sort of clean up this seam here and see where I can get to. Well, I don't really want to replace this whole trunk floor, but we're going to replace sections of it, obviously. So that's the plan at the moment. So we're just going to see if we can clean this up and maybe find out where this actually runs. All right. Say hello, Les.
Hello, Les.
So we're in Les' shop. We're going to cap my door. Got anything to say?
Hello.
Is that it?
That's it, babe.
All right. Nothing about capris or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right, guys. Quick update for you. Haven't unfortunately done too much work on the car. I've been sort of running around. We ended up going up to the storage location, just checking on things. Thinking of building a part of a fence just to prevent some access from going in there. Stopped at Canadian Tire, bought my 2 angle grinders for 56 bucks, I think they were, total for the 2. It's amazing when you consider that those Easy Lock Dremels for that 1 pack of 5 with the mandrel cost 29 bucks. So basically the price of 1 grinder, you can get 1 little pack of Dremel Easy Locks. Anyway, it is what it is. Oh, I managed to get the door done. There's the door fixed, so Les hooked me up with that. So we've got that nice panel bent around that. So that should keep that door in much better shape for the next couple years or so. So that's about it for now. That's the update. So we'll get out here later on. Alright guys, just about 6:45, and after a quick break we're back out in the garage, and we're just tearing things apart a little further, and we managed to move a little piece of metal out of the rear corner. So I've taken this rusty piece out that sort of fits in here like that, so to form that rear corner, and of course that's all rusted out. I pulled up this floor section here, you can see, and there is a structural piece below it, and again just on this side is the spare tire well. So we're just sort of working around those structural pieces, and so that's where we're at. So I think what I pretty much decided to do is we're going to probably fairly soon, we're going to probably take this body right off of the chassis. The chassis is getting pretty banged up already and rusty, and I really need some clearance to work on a few areas of this car. I think I pretty much decided now that I'm going to have a look at this area down here, which is the, I sort of call them, this is the rear body mount area, and we call this a closeout panel. There's a vertical piece and a horizontal piece underneath it, and those, again, I was poking with a screwdriver, and you can see I just poked a hole right through the mount into the spare tire compartment. So those are looking pretty worse for wear. Now these parts are available. The rear body mount and the closing panels are all available to purchase. So I might break down and just go ahead and do that. You can see what I'm talking about here as far as the dirt's concerned, getting sort of piling up on my nice clean frame. So I think we are probably going to fairly soon just roll the frame over to the right side of the garage and get this thing up on some sawhorses, or maybe just flip it up on its side. I do have some bracing for the doors that I saved from the last project that I can probably install, and it sort of keeps the, if I do roll the body up on its side, it keeps the side off of the concrete floor. So we may go ahead and install those tomorrow to be able to do that. So yeah, it's pretty extensively damaged back here. So there's certain areas in there. For example, I need to basically move this piece of metal in order to fix that area, which is the side of the spare tire compartment. So we're probably going to do that, and yeah, this pretty rough looking back here, so it's going to entail quite a bit of work underneath the car and on the side of the car to get this looking back a little bit better. So that's it for now, guys. We're gonna resist the urge to take the whole rear off the car. I hope it doesn't get to that extent, because that's a new kettle of worms. Or a kettle of fish, whatever you want to call it. I did actually take it off the 60 that I did and install the new rear valance, but this one I think is actually looking better than the one that was on the 60. So fingers crossed we won't actually have to pull that rear valance off at all. But you can see there's a lot of debris kicking around in that area in there, so we'll have to clean all that area out once we get in there a little bit deeper. So that's it for now, guys. So we'll just continue on working to sort of clean this area up a bit, and like I said, I'm doing a little bit more excavating as we go along. Alright guys, quick update. Alright guys, so I just continued on actually and removed what I could remove. This is actually that close-in panel that I was talking about, and that sort of sat here. I can't really put it back in now, but you get the idea. That was the closing panel that sat here, and so I've just removed that, and that's pretty much scrap, as you can tell. And let me get the camera light actually in here so you can see the damage to the side of the spare tire pan. And that's kind of a common area where that fails, because the body mount is there that actually welds to that pan. So it gets a lot of rust back in this area because it gets a lot of mud thrown up and debris. So that usually rusts out. So that's not really a surprise. It is worse than it was on my 60 TR3, so hopefully we'll be able to find some solid metal to repair that section too. So the next thing, like I said, is to probably take the body off and remove that rear body mount, and behind that I'm sure it's going to be pretty soft metal as well. So anyway, that's it for tonight. I think we've had enough destruction for today. I'm actually really glad that I've done this car before, because you could probably be fairly discouraged at this point in time. It's a little bit complex about how these panels sort of go back, the closing panels go back together on the rear. So Having done it once, at least I have a better idea now what I'm looking at, so it scares me less than it should, let's say. This is interesting here. It looks almost like they've done a little bit of lead work on the bottom of this rear valance, so I can see it looks like pretty shiny there, so looks like they may have pushed some lead in through. I haven't cleared the paint off the other side there yet, so it'll be interesting to see what's happening down in that bottom area. Anyway, I think that's it for tonight, guys. Like I said, we'll get out here tomorrow. Alright, have a good night.